Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Well, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Daylight NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Mumbai Gudapi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Rockfin, Odyssey, Band.video, Vigilante.tv, or now Rumble, go check us out on Rumble, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served. Thanks a million. We appreciate the support. If you want to connect with me, the website is theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. You can find me on Twitter at Macroaggressions. You can find me on Instagram at Macroaggressions _podcast, I think is exactly what it is. Anyway, you'll find me there. Big thanks to the sponsors. They make the show happen. Chemical Free Body has been with us from the beginning. Thanks to Tim James and the crew over there for making supplements that actually work, that keep the chemicals out of it. I take Green 85 every single morning. No kidding. I'm not lying to you. I really do. It's not bad. It's less than 5 minutes, the whole process. It'll tell you, if you think you want to take control of your health and maybe make some decisions for yourself, you've decided, it's too long. I've kind of, passed on this stuff. Now I need to get serious about it. Just go to chemicalfreebody.com and see what you think. You'll find a whole lot going on over there. Pat Militich has got a new super soldier product out there. The detox bundle is worth every penny of it. I swear to you. It's a 90-day program. It's just capsules and Green 85 in the morning. So it doesn't take much time, but it will really change your life. I can show you. There's videos of me, a guy that doesn't have weight to lose, losing so much weight I had to buy brand new shorts. So look, I'm not saying that's going to happen for you. I'm just saying it happened for me. Some results may vary, but check it out. Go to chemicalfreebody.com, promo code macro on your way out. Save yourself some money. Also, thanks to the folks over at Legal Shield that have been doing this for half a century in the United States and Canada. Get you access to an attorney for $1 a day. Man, it's so easy. It's so reasonable. You've got a lot that you can use this for. They didn't hire 87,000 IRS agents to go bother Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. They're coming for you. You know that, right? They're coming to pour through your Venmo transactions to get you because you spent $604 to send your Aunt Susie some money, and now you didn't fill out the proper paperwork. And guess what? There's an IRS audit for you. Well, if you have Legal Shield, you can get them to help with your audit by the IRS for a W-2. You can engage them to do that. You can do all kinds of things. I'll tell you what. Go to the website, read up about it for yourself. Don'tgetpushedAround.com is the place to do it. You'll find information on their legal plans, on their ID shields, if you run a small business, if you carry a gun, if you need to prepay for some courtroom time, if you want an attorney to go through a bunch of documents for you, if you need an attorney to create documents for you, it's all there. It's all there. It'll be a local attorney's office in your area that Legal Shield has partnered with. So go to don'tgetpushedAround.com, read up about it, see what you think. Well, I guess I can make this announcement. I've been sitting on it for a while. You know how much I love Anarchapulco. You know that I've been there on 3 different occasions to speak. I wrote a book with Jeff Berwick, the founder and owner of Anarchapulco. That kind of helps. I am pleased to announce that for Anarchapulco 2024, I won't be there as a speaker. I will actually be there as the host and MC of the event, of the VIP dinners, of the comedy shows, of the auctions, of day 1 and multiple days, more than likely. So I would love to have you guys out there. I am extending an invitation to my entire audience to get your ass to Acapulco, Mexico, February 11th through the 16th, 2024. Listen, there's worse places to be than Mexico in February. You know what I mean? This is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a huge party there. It always is. They're about to announce the list of everybody that's coming. I've had to kind of sit on this. I apologize. I wasn't lying. I guess it was lying by omission. I just couldn't say anything about it. It's been a while. So everything is signed. We're all buttoned up on my end and we're ready to go. So if you want to, you can go to anarchapulco.com and find out all about what's going to happen in 2024. And if you decide you want to go, use the promo code MACRO. That's the discount code. That'll save you some money. They want you there. I want you there. It's great during the day. It's a party at night. It goes on all night long. I mean, last year we were at Max Egan's bar till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. You'll be around like-minded people. It's a very international event. Lots of Australians, lots of people from Europe, lots of people from Canada, America, obviously. And then a new segment that I wasn't expecting, but seems to grow every year. It's people from all those countries that now currently live in Mexico, but then they come to the event too. So when you talk to them, you say, well, where are you from? They say, well, I'm originally from Canada, but now I live in Cabo. Or I'm originally from Australia, but now I live in Puerto Vallarta. And I met a ton of people like that. So come on out, Anarchapulco 2024, man. It is the 10-year anniversary of it. Thank you to Jeff. Thank you to Kat. Thank you to Rebecca, the crew over there that made it possible for me to come in as a host and MC. It means a lot to me. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have fun and get your ass out there. That's all I'm saying. So, but let's get into the episode, shall we? Let's no more partying in Mexico. Well, not till February. We'll think about it then. But I'll tell you what I was doing, and this is one of the benefits of my job, is that from time to time, my work is to sit around and watch videos. And sometimes I've got them casually playing in the background. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm actually just watching them intently. And I got myself down a Yuri Bezmenov rabbit hole. It's a good one to be in. To watch his lectures and presentations, his interviews with G. Edward Griffin, by the way, someone that I met at Anarchapulco, got on a plane with him and then saw him speak and do his presentation. You know, he was having these conversations with Yuri back in the late 70s and early 80s. And you hear this talk about demoralization, and you hear about this process of how you can take over a country and subvert them without firing a single shot. And it sounds all theoretical, right? And it sounds like something that you would read in some sort of KGB handbook, which of course it is in the KGB handbook, or something that you'd learn at Quantico, or some place where if you're working in an intelligence capacity, you would learn something about the process of demoralization. But it's all very theoretical, right? It's just, if you do this, then this would happen. And it takes 40 years. So it's like when you're having this lecture, when you're Yuri and you're talking to Ed in the 70s and you're saying, this is what it'll look like 40 years from now, you can sort of take that for what you will. But we're past 40 years. We're already past the point where he said that this is where you'll be. And now when you go back and you watch these interviews and you watch these presentations, it's not theoretical anymore. It's factual. And I want to talk about this because the plan of demoralization of the West is not just in full swing. It's already done. It's completed. We're just sorting through the last stages of it. And what I want to do is I'm going to go through the 4 stages of ideological subversion, otherwise known as active measures, otherwise known as psychological warfare, and take this from a point of conceptually looking at the idea of subversion and saying, all right, now you hear what Yuri's talking about back then. Let's draw some parallels and connections to where we are right now. Let's see if it matches up. Let's see if what he was talking about, the process, the time frame, 15 to 20 years for this process, for this part, and 2 to 5 years for this part. And, he's very specific because he knew the playbook. He was a former KGB agent, and he got a little bit disillusioned with what they were doing, and in particular with regard to what they were doing in India. He was based in India. He had a deep relationship there. He was a linguistics expert in Indian languages, and really smart guy. I don't. Some people say, well, he's a KGB guy. How much are you going to trust him? Look, who would know the playbook better than the KGB? So who knows the inner workings of a criminal organization? Criminals, right? Who knows the inner workings of a spy agency? Spies. So when you talk to guys like this, or you hear them do presentations or do interviews, and you say, oh, well, I can never believe anything that he said he would, because he worked for the KGB. Yeah, that's why he knows what he knows. So you can add whatever sort of discounts you want to this, but the facts are, what he said about how it's going to go down and how it's going to look and how this whole thing plays out, really accurate. And so we're going to go through this and we're going to talk about it kind of step by step. And I got a lot of notes on this one, and it's fun. And I would encourage you to go back and go on wherever video platform you like and just type in Yuri Bezmenov and watch some of them. Watch the you'll know you're in the right place because everybody in the audience looks like they're straight out of like an early 80s McDonald's commercial or something, or when Ed's interviewing him, they look like they're on their way to Studio 54 after the interview, so you can tell it was a while ago. The footage is a little grainy, the audio quality is okay but not the best, but it doesn't matter. The message is where it's at. So let's talk about this. This is the plan. The plan is to destabilize all of the relations, all the accepted institutions and organizations in a country of your enemy. So this is a very thoughtful, planned well in advance, an understanding of psychology, an understanding of group dynamics, knowing how the media will respond, knowing how the government will respond, thinking that you know how the people will respond. It's always a little bit of a crapshoot, but if you understand human psychology and herd mentality and things like that, you can pretty much predict how the masses are going to move. So he talks about one of the things that you're on the right track when you get a society that becomes more antagonistic between individuals, groups of individuals, and society in general. It's not peaceful. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of bickering, of course, verbal fighting, arguments and things like that. There's a lot of protests. There's a lot of physical fights. You start to notice that the seams are starting to come apart. And so that's how you know when the process of demoralization and the which is one of 4 stages of ideological subversion. But that's when you know that the process of demoralization has been completed and that you're into the destabilization portion of the show. So here's a quote from Mike Metzger, ethics professor. He says, "You can't rationalize facts to a person whose position is based on emotion." Right. So that's where we are right now in the West, at least. It's I don't care what your facts are about COVID or about climate change or about 9/11 or about whatever. I have emotions. My feelings trump your facts. And when you can get to a point where you've got people arguing based on feelings over facts, you've got a demoralized society. And that's where we are right now. So let's talk about his 4 stages of ideological subversion. Number 1 is the process of demoralization. This is educate an entire generation in Marxist ideology. This process takes 15 to 20 years. The reason why it takes that long is because that is the amount of time that it takes to educate an entire generation into this nonsensical thinking. You have to invest the time to do that. Once you get the young generation with their softened up minds and their idealistic approach to things, and, you know, we're all sort of like that. You don't know what you don't know. It's not even really so much their fault as that you just don't have enough life experience. You haven't been out in the world. You've been in schools, which are government indoctrination camps. You've been in universities, which have turned into Marxist indoctrination camps. You know, you've been put through the system on a conveyor belt, being taught certain things, not being taught other things, being told and rewarded for, you know, regurgitating information on a test, on a history test. And then you find out that all the facts in your history book are completely wrong. And so, you know, you are dog trained along the process through these schools. And so if you can get into the minds of these kids through the education system all along the way, then you've got a chance at really taking this through the 4 steps of ideological subversion. So with demoralization, you're talking about educating an entire generation in Marxist ideology. Well, let's start with Common Core. Let's start with that. Let's start with, have you seen libs of TikTok? Have you seen what's going on in the school districts these days where, you know, it used to be that your teacher was Miss Johnson, right? And you didn't know if Miss Johnson if there was a Mr. Johnson. You didn't know if, you didn't know what this person's political affiliation is. You didn't know what their sexual dating history was. You didn't even know their first name in some cases, your teacher. You know, it was a big deal when you saw them out at like McDonald's someplace. You'd be like, oh my God, there's Miss Johnson. Like, she eats McDonald's too. She's just like me, you know? So as a kid, you know, we grew up not knowing all this stuff. Now, oh my God, I just can't wait to come out and tell my 3rd grade class that I'm non-binary and I'm so nervous. I'm so excited. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you having this conversation with kids about your sex life? This is inconsistent and incompatible with somebody that would, you know, be actually there for the right reasons. And you go, well, this feels very uncomfortable, but maybe it's just a one-off, right? Maybe it's just one teacher on TikTok. And then you look and you find that, and I fully understand TikTok is not necessarily a reflection of the society, but when you see hundreds of teachers, it showing off look at the decorations from my classroom. It's all Black Lives Matter and rainbow flags and fight the power and all this. Look, I'm all for fighting the power too, but not with rainbow dildos. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going to get you anywhere. And the, you know, the idea that you're coming out to your students and everything, that should never happen. If you should be fired on the spot for coming out to your students. You should be automatic. There's certain things you don't talk to your kids about, right? If you're the sex education teacher or the biology teacher and you have and it's part of the class curriculum, you have to talk about sexual organs and things like that, fine. But that happens at a later age when those are appropriate. The problem that we have is the inappropriate age range and the line crossing of these activist teachers that aren't even teaching. And frankly, whatever they're teaching is nonsense anyway. But they're not teachers, they're activists and they're indoctrinators. And when you understand that cultural Marxists, they need children. This is what they do. This whether you're in Cambodia being recruited into the Khmer Rouge, whether you're a child soldier being forced to murder your parents in Africa in order to be part of the tribe. This is how it works. It ends with piles of bodies. It starts off harmlessly enough. I just want to come out to my third graders that I'm non-binary. And then the next thing you know, we don't have to tell your parents about this. Maybe you were born in the wrong body. Maybe the school doesn't have to the school will refer to you by your preferred pronouns. We don't have to tell your parents. This is our little secret. You know who keeps little secrets like that from people's parents? Pedophiles, child molesters do. Guys that drive vans and say free candy in the back. That's who does it. So when you're a school administrator and you're telling kids, we don't have to have this conversation with your parents. This will just be our little secret. That's the last thing you hear before a shotgun racks, right? And some angry dad says, this is the last 5 seconds of your life. Talking to my kids about this stuff. So this is a process. This is not accidental. This is being made to happen. Process. Step number 1, demoralization. Educate an entire generation in Marxist ideology. Check. Step 2, destabilization. Economy, foreign relations, and defense systems. This destabilization process takes between 2 and 5 years. Let's see. Have we destabilized the economy? Yeah, pretty much. We're on the verge of hyperinflation. We're being told that inflation is transitory when we're not also being told that it doesn't exist. And then later they have to admit that it exists. And then they say, well, but it's low. And you go, well, you just told us it didn't exist. And then you said it was transitory, meaning it's coming through and going somewhere else. But it's not. It's here to stay. And it's not low. It's high. It's staying high. It'll be high next year, and it'll be high the year after that if it doesn't burst into hyperinflation. So destabilization of the economy, I would say in the process, definitely on the way. How about destabilization of foreign relations? We're going to use the United States as an example in this one. But I would suggest that Yuri's process of demoralization and ideological subversion works across the board. But we're gonna focus on America because I'm here and because it is like a science project in process right now. You can watch it happening from the bleachers like we're doing right now. So destabilization of foreign relations. Yeah, the world hates us now, and rightfully so. If I were out external to the United States, I'd be very critical of what the United States is doing as well. I mean, hell, I'm in the U.S. and I'm critical of it. So our relationship with what? Just deciding that we're going to throw Russia off the SWIFT banking system and that we're going to seize their money like we've done with Iran, like we've done with a lot of these countries. We just steal their money. You know, the other countries talk, right? You know, they all get together and they talk and they go, if you keep doing business with America, they'll steal your money too. So we have the development, the expansion of the BRICS system. I would suggest that is in response to the unipolar world that America or that these lunatics, these New World Order people want to start. And you're starting to see the multipolarity of a BRIC system in addition to the New World Order, America West. So all of that group. So we've destabilized our relationships with our foreign relations for sure. How about defense systems? Well, I don't know. You tell me. What do you think's going on at the southern border? Do we have a defense system there? Do we have anything there? Have we put in permanent turnstiles to just let people in? We're not even charging for you. It's not even like you're getting on the subway where you have to stick your ticket in and then the little they're welding the doors open. I'm not kidding. They welded a door open. So the destabilization of our economy, foreign relations, and defense system, if it's not completed already, it's certainly in the process of that. Step number 3, crisis. Violent change of power, structure, and economy. This process takes 6 weeks. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 6 weeks of crisis. This is what Yuri talks about when he said, if you put somebody through 6 weeks of crisis, if they are subjected to nonstop fear, it breaks their brains. I suggest we go back to the spring of 2020 and ask, did we have a crisis that lasted at least 6 weeks in which there was a violent change of power, structure, and economy? Yeah, the economy was shut down. Small businesses and medium-sized businesses were required to stay closed, while big box businesses like Home Depot and wherever, they were open because COVID doesn't go, I mean, whatever. You know where I'm going with it. It made no sense. So you have a change of power. Yeah, I'd say there was a change of power. Welcome to the new world order, where the World Health Organization is in charge. They've actually now signed legislation putting the World Health Organization in charge of the world in the event of a health crisis and pandemic. Now, what constitutes a health crisis and pandemic? Well, don't worry, because they wrote that in pencil, because they keep changing what that definition means. But I assure you, if they are granted extraordinary powers during times of emergencies, they will create emergencies that in order to retain the power. So it's never ending, right? We understand this. The crisis, the COVID crisis of 2020 will be rebranded. If you don't think that there's going to be a climate crisis, then you just aren't paying attention, because there most definitely will be. Last on this, number 4 in the 4 steps, normalization, a period of stability until the next cycle reaches crisis point, and then they do it all over again, right? But this process of normalization, the duration on this, it may last indefinitely. It will last for a while. He uses as the example the Czechoslovakia, having some sort of conflict in Czechoslovakia. Russia rolled in the tanks, put tanks on every corner, and then they said, Czechoslovakia has been normalized. So that's what they mean. There's no more problem here. We've solved the problem. We are now in a process of normalization. So the point is to change a person's perception of reality to the point that despite all the information in the world, they still can't come to sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves and defending their communities. Okay. It's confusion. Ideological subversion is to confuse your enemy so much that they don't know what's right and what's wrong. Look around, turn on the TV, see what you think. Are we at a point where there's too many lies out there? You just have to throw your hands up and say, I don't even know what's true and what's false anymore. And by the way, we're also about to move into a digital era of deep fake technology where you can make it a video that looks like somebody's doing something that they're not doing. So again, this is going to add to the confusion. And they want that. They want you at a point where you throw your hands up and go, make it stop. I don't even know what to believe anymore. Make it stop. So Yuri claimed that the 15 to 20 year demoralization process was already complete by the time he was doing the interviews with Ed back in the late 70s and early 80s. Okay. Now, when he said that demoralization process, this is educate an entire generation in Marxist ideology. You know, what's interesting about this is that we might have gone through 2 full cycles of what Yuri's talking about. Demoralization, 15 to 20 years, which he claimed was already done by let's just say 1980, right? 2 to 5 years of destabilization, crisis, normalization. I mean, could we not use this for 9/11? I mean, could we not use that as the crisis and then the normalization? Here comes the Patriot Act. Here comes the Department of Homeland Security. Here comes taking your shoes off to get on an airplane. Is that not normalized? Did that not come in the wake of a crisis? A 6-week crisis that broke everybody's brains and had them to the point where violent change of power. Yeah, now we've introduced terrorists into this. Most definitely a change of power in Afghanistan and Iraq and parts of the Middle East. Yeah, for sure. So again, we may be on the second go around of this. So when Yuri's talking about demoralization, you know, he was onto something. This is from Yuri, aka Thomas Schulman, right? That was his name, his American name that he went in. He said, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who is demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell him nothing. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camps, he will refuse to believe it until he receives a kick in his fat bottom. When the military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. A lot of people need the boot in the balls to wake up to this. There's a great Leonardo da Vinci quote. There are three types of people: those who see when shown, those who do not see. So which one are you? Do you need the Yuri's kick in the balls to see when shown, or are you paying attention and understand where this is going? He goes on to say, this is a separate quote. He's talking about Sun Tzu, the art of war, Chinese consultant, let's just call him. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as an enemy. That's where we're getting, right? So let's break down demoralization. This is the 15 to 20 year plan, all right? So these are I'm going to talk about areas, methods, and results. This is from a chart that Yuri put up, okay? So as I'm watching this, I'm taking notes and I'm writing down what he's talking about. So if we're talking about a 2-decade window here, you got to get them in a couple different concepts. The first is ideas, okay? And he breaks this down into 4 different sets. He says religion, education, media, and culture. These are ideas. This is how this is part of how you how your society views itself, right? The concepts and the things that are important to it, right? The ideas, what you believe in. What is this place all about? What's America all about? We're all about freedom and democracy. Fuck yeah. Right? Are you really though? Are you really about that? Because I don't think you are. I don't think we've been about freedom and democracy forever. Okay. I think that that's a sales pitch. Okay. I think that the reality is very different. And I think the reality is that Yuri is correct, that we have been subverted for a long, long time. And that we're in that process where we don't know what's going on. There's too much information coming our way, most of it bad. So within these ideas, let's start with religion. Okay. He says the methods in which you would demoralize somebody using religion. You would politicize it. You would commercialize it. You would turn it into entertainment. Paging Joel Osteen. Really, you'd buy the Houston Rockets Compact Center and turn that into a gigantic church and then sell tickets on Ticketmaster for it and sell front row tickets for like $7,500? Are you good? Is Joel Osteen going to dunk? I mean, what the fuck are you paying for? Are you paying? I'm not a religious guy, but something tells me that Jesus wouldn't be on board with this, right? And a reminder that when they were remodeling the bathrooms in the Compact Center at Joel Osteen's church, one of the guys found $80,000 in cash that was buried, that was stuffed into the wall, okay, and a bunch of checks. So these guys are up to no good. But this is how you would work to demoralize it. And I'm not going to put the whole thing on Joel Osteen, but I think he's sort of a symbol of this, right? He's the entertainment faction of religion. Are you there to get Jesus, or are you there to get a show and cotton candy? Because it feels a little bit more like a circus. So he talks about the Christian right. He talks about the atheist left. He talks about, the eroding religious dogmas. Take it from a less religious standpoint and start whittling away at it, start to politicize it. Cause then now we've got a problem now. Cause if you can divide people up into smaller and smaller groups, you can become very successful with this. So the results of this, he said, it results in a death wish. You get a lot of people that have a death wish. Okay. Next on the list, education. He talks about permissiveness and relativity. Common Core. Common Core would be, and he doesn't mention Common Core because it didn't exist back then. But I'm gonna take his words and then I'm gonna infuse them with what we're seeing today in reality. So the permissiveness would be just allowing your education system to be hijacked by Bill Gates and Pearson Publishing, which he owns, and to have the Department of Education be receiving money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Common Core, and then having Obama threaten states saying that if they don't get on board with the Common Core program, they won't get the funding. And when asked to see what the Common Core curriculum is, they said it hasn't been written yet, but you need to sign on to it anyway. And then when it came out, it was complete dog shit. And people were like, school districts were like, what the fuck is this? How am I supposed to teach this? And they said, well, give us the money back. If you want out, then the only way you can get out is if you pay us back the money that we gave you a couple years ago. It's like, what? That money's been spent. I can't give you that money back. Well, then you got to teach Common Core. We have a contract. So relativity, right? In education, men can have babies. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. Now, the results, Yuri said, the results of this with education, you get ignorance. Do we have ignorance these days? Yeah, we've got ignorance. Next on the list, media. When talking about demoralization, he said that you would monopolize the media. Again, He's talking about this in the 70s and 80s when there were 50 media companies. How many do we have now? We have 5. Monopolize it, manipulate it, discredit it, and fill the people's minds with non-issues. Yeah, we've got the manipulate in the media. Well, we have the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, which legalized propaganda inside America to be used on Americans. Does that count? Yeah. Non-issues. What is Kim Kardashian wearing at this year's Paris fashion show? What is Kanye West doing with his new wife walking around Italy in some nude suit, causing problems? Why do I even know any of this? Because I have TMZ on my phone. That's why. But what do you get as a result of this? From the media side of things, you get a group of people that are uninformed. Okay, that's what Yuri says. You get uninformed people. Last of the 4 areas of ideas, this is culture. Okay, he said false heroes and false role models. Holy shit, was he right or what? We've got a lot of virtue signaling going on here in the culture war. You've got Satanism in the music industry. You've got gangster rap telling everybody that, my gun's bigger than your gun. And, we run this corner and we're slinging rocks and, my homies are down for life and all that stuff. And you go, who is this appealing to? We're trying to normalize criminal behavior? Of course they are. Right. So, this is the false heroes and the false role models are very important in the culture war, as Yuri pointed out. And the results of that, you get addicted to fads for the masses, right? So you get them focused on new culture that is just a little bit less stable than the previous culture before. All right, still in demoralization, but moving on to what he calls structure. And the 5 components of structure are law and order. He's big on this one. Social relations, security, internal politics, and foreign affairs. So we'll start with law and order under this structure component of demoralization. Remember, 15 to 20 years program. We're still in this. For law and order, they said they want it legislative, but not moral. They want moral relativity. They want you to, they want that anything under $950 in San Francisco, we're not going to prosecute. That's not legislative. That's moral relativity. Well, it's not that bad of stealing. It's stealing, but it's not a major crime, right? They want that. January 6th, they want you to see that. Julian Assange, they want you to see that. They want you to see what happens when you speak out. They want you to see what happens when you're Donald Trump and you get on the wrong side of the deep state and they try to dissolve your corporations. They want you to see that. They need you to see that. It sends a chilling effect down the spines of people that are paying attention, that they go, holy shit. If I really come out here and I go full Julian Assange and expose everything, I know what my future is. They want you to know that. That's part of the process of demoralization. They want to take out your morale. They want to demorale you, right? So it's hard to be a freedom fighter when you know that you're one step away from getting 22 years in prison like Enrico Tarrio, or 17 years in prison like Joe Biggs, or an indefinite prison sentence like Julian Assange. They want you to remember that. And what they said the results, what Yuri said the results of this is, what you would expect it to be, a mistrust of justice, right? Do you trust justice? I certainly don't. It's the just us system, right? It ain't for you and me. It's for them. They get along. They get, all their crimes are forgotten, covered up. They bend over backwards. The media goes out of their way to pretend like they don't know what you're talking about if you're on their side of things. If you're on the wrong side of things, it's front page news when you get a speeding ticket. Next on the list, social relations. They want to fight between rights versus obligations. And this is where you get into concepts like the social contract, where they say, well, you need to wear a mask to take care of me. You need to take an experimental gene therapy injection to protect me. And you go, I have no obligation to do that. No, that's your right to do that. I know there's no right. You're telling me I have the right to, I might have the right to do it, but I don't have any obligation to do it. And they say, no. This is the way it works here. We want you to understand that we're telling you that you need to take that shot, because if you don't, grandmothers will die. And you go, what the fuck does that mean? I didn't sign. I'm sorry. I don't see any social contract that I signed. And they say, no. It's not about signing the contract. It's about doing what's right. And if you don't do what's right, we're going to make you look like you're the bad guy, right? What does this do? Yuri says that the results are less individual responses. You get groupthink. You get people that you get less individual responses. You get fewer people saying, I'm not doing this. I'm not wearing a mask. You got to wear a mask to go in the grocery store. Get out of my way, dickhead. I'm shopping. Some guy standing at the front. Sir, you have to have a mask. I just walk right around them like Bill Lumbergh. I did that in Vegas. This lady tried to chase me. I was like, get the fuck away from me. I'm not doing anything. You make $8 an hour. You don't want to fight me. You're not making enough money to justify this fight. You get less individual responses by design. Security. This back to the structure. Security. He says this is the intelligence, this is police, this is military. They want you to see the cracks in this. They want you to understand that 50 intel officers can lie about Hunter Biden's laptop and nothing will happen to them. They want you to know that police can shoot you and nothing will happen to them. They want you to see that. They want you to be distrustful of them. And what is it? What is the result of this? Defenselessness. Okay. They want you to feel defenseless. Again, when you're working on reducing the morale of a society and you can get them to feel defenseless, that's a really powerful position to be in. They feel like, what's the point then? Right? Why would I even fight when I know that the police will just show up at my door and arrest me and nobody will go to jail? And they need a warrant to come in your house, man. Really? You think they're going to worry about that? They're just they'll just have somebody retroactively write them up a search warrant, or they'll say they didn't need one, or they'll say they had probable cause, or they'll plant child porn on your computer, or they'll plant a kilo of cocaine in your attic, or whatever. You understand? They want you to understand you are defenseless against this. Next on this list, internal politics. This is the party and antagonism, he said. It's the left versus right, the nonstop fighting. Now, they've always been fighting. I don't know how much of that is theater and how much of that is reality. I think some of those people in Congress definitely despise each other, but I think the vast majority of them all work for Lockheed Martin. So I don't know that in the end it really matters all that much. But this left-right fighting creates a sense of, as Yuri pointed out, the results end in disunity, right? So there's no united front. It's not, we're America, this is how we think, we're doing this. It's, we're America, we think all kinds of things. What we're doing is, who fucking knows? We're making masks mandatory and we're doing nonsensical things. And what that does is it creates a sense of disunity. Like there's no cohesive plan for the country. And last on this, in terms of structure, he says foreign. This is more diplomatic. He used the example of SALT, the Strategic Arms Limitations Treaty, and he says the results of this is that you wind up with a country in isolation. Okay, the next part of this, the final kind of part, is that. For the demoralization, he talks about a concept called life, right? And this is family and society, health, race, population, and labor, okay? So with family and society, they want the family to break up, right? And they've done a pretty good job of that, right? If you think about your relationship with your family in 2010 versus your relationship with your family now, let me ask, after you've gone through COVID, after you've gone through Trump, after you've gone through masks, after you've gone through politics, how's your relationship with your family now? Are you talking to everybody in your family? Or are there some people that you just don't go over to their house with anymore? You don't go over to Aunt Jenny's place for Thanksgiving. I'm not going over there. I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to fight. There's no fucking way I'm going over there. Are you kidding me? You know it. I'm not going to get into it with those people. It's better I just don't even go. Like, let's not go this year. I cannot handle another conversation about how Hillary Clinton is the savior and that Donald Trump is the devil and that all these if only, like, I just can't. Have you had those conversations? A lot of people have. He said that this will result in no loyalty between families. Next on the list is health. He talks about introducing Medicare and junk food into the situation, into society. Have you seen the American population lately? They're a bunch of fat pigs, right? I'm sorry. It's what it is. It's the food, it's the apathy, it's the laziness, it's television, it's all kinds of things. I would say that the process of demoralization is best exemplified by the physical look of the average American. You tell me if they're demoralized, as they're 60 pounds overweight, diabetic, on 9 different prescription drugs. You tell me, are they optimizing their lives, or are they falling apart? So he said the result of this would be the enfeebled masses. Are we enfeebled? Yes. Go to Disneyland and walk around and tell me how many 400-pound people you see. It used to be like seeing Bigfoot if you saw a 400-pound person. Now they're everywhere. They're everywhere, right? In America, especially when Europeans come to America, they go, "What happened?" We've been normalized to it. Like we don't even think twice when you see a 400-pound person on a mobile, a little rascal scooter going through the grocery store. You're like, whoa, you're too fat to shop? Holy shit. This should be the wake-up call. When you're too fat to walk through the grocery store to get yourself more food, that should be the time when you snap out of it. But what he said is that you will wind up with just enfeebled masses, unable to do anything for themselves. Next on it was race. He talks about the lower the uppers, and I would say that when you lower the uppers, let's look at college admission, right? We've now we used to have affirmative action, and now we have guardrails, and now we have reverse racism directed at whites and Asians, period. That's what we have. It's, again, not my opinion. You can find colleges that proclaim we are taking less whites and Asians. Like as if that's supposed to be not fucking racist. You know what I mean? Like if I came out and was like, we're done with all these blacks, you'd be like, holy shit, man. Like you can't say that. But if I come out and say, we're done with all these Asians and whites, everyone's like, you're stunning and brave. You're stunning and brave. You're giving all these other people a chance. Do they earn the chance? Did they get a 1600 on their SAT or whatever? Do they have the extracurriculars, or are you putting them in a position for them to fail? You take a guy who got a 900 on his SAT and a C- in math, and you put him in Harvard. You know what you're going to do to him? You're going to convince that kid will never excel. He's going to get Fs, and he's going to say, I can't hack it. I don't belong here. You're right. You don't. It's called qualifications. You need to be qualified. There's nothing racist about that. It's just life, right? But what he said is that what it does is that it creates hatred and division. Certainly does. Look at the college system right now. You tell me if that's not just a completely broken institution. Next on this, he's got population. He said that you really want to push people to de-land, get them off of the land, and push urbanization. Right on cue. And the results of this will be alienation, is what he said. Last on the list is labor. He said you want to get unions versus societies. You want to get them, you want to get the workers versus the owners of the factories fighting. If you can get them fighting, then the results of this is victimization. You can become a victim. So he goes on to talk about more things. We're going to continue with this. He talks about equality. Right? You might be interested to hear his take on equality. Well, I'll tell you what, it's pretty fascinating. He said the Soviets were trying to push equality on the United States because they knew it was impossible because people are not equal in skills and motivation, education, age, size, you name it. There's a ton of variables. But if you can convince your enemy, if you're trying to demoralize another country and you can convince that other country to push the concept of equality, that will help to demoralize the society. Because he said equality is a tactic. It's not real. You're not really trying. Think about it logically. Are you going to say that, like, I am not equal to LeBron James with regard to basketball? Do I deserve a spot on the Lakers because of, quote, equality? Or would that be a catastrophe, right? For me and everybody involved. Equality is a trap because it's unattainable. And they know that. And part of what demoralization does is that they want you to focus on these goals that are unattainable so that you will fail. And when you fail, you will never try again. That's what they want. So, equal opportunities? Maybe. Equal outcomes? No way. No way. Because we're not equal. Because I don't know what you know, and you don't know what I know. And if we're applying for a job as a welder, and you know how to weld and I don't, why would you give me the job? I'm unqualified. What if you had to give me the job because of the color of my skin? What would that do to that other guy who actually knows how to weld? How do you think he'd feel about me? He'd be pretty resentful. That fucking guy got the job and I didn't. Oh, I bet it's because he's white. What does that do? Right? He certainly doesn't know how to weld. So what else could it be? Quota? Okay, so if I'm there because I filled some sort of quota, then what? I'm unqualified. The business runs poorly. The people that work there know I'm unqualified. They start asking questions about what's this guy doing here? That's the process. Equality is a trap. And they know it, and Yuri knew it. And he said that anybody that went through the KGB read the book, read the handbook. Everybody. And everybody understands this, except us. And yet equality is pushed because they understand it is unattainable for a society, and as such will cause demoralization when the people finally figure it out. Unequal people cannot be made equal. They just can't. And for the record, in this society, some are more equal than others. If you've read George Orwell's Animal Farm, you know what I'm talking about. The concept of social justice, it's been big. It's been big over the last 5 years. That was introduced by Marxist-Leninists as a way of destabilizing a country through division and radicalization. You think that the social justice... Do you ever wonder why George Soros is financing Black Lives Matter? You ever stop to ask yourself the question why George Soros was the number one financier of Ferguson? Because he wants a social justice revolution. Do you know why? Because it will destroy the country. And he's involved in color revolutions. He understands the playbook. Hell, he's got the playbook. So when you hear about Black Lives Matters and 1619 Project and critical race theory and all these concepts that are coming through under the guise of social justice, just understand what you are actually witnessing is the demoralization of the general public. You just have to wait for it to play out a little bit longer. So this is a part of the plan for the destabilization. Now we're going to move into phase 2, destabilization. This is 2 to 5 years, okay? He talks about this in 3 areas. He said there's for area number 1, power struggle. The methods, populism, irresponsible fight for control. The results of this will be the implementation of Big Brother government, daddy government, watching over everybody. He goes on to say the next component, you're talking about this area, economy. The methods for destabilizing the economy, destruction of bargaining process, the introduction of labor unions, and the promotion of labor unions. What do we have? United Auto Workers. Aren't they on strike? That's interesting. Didn't we have teachers on strike? Didn't we have rail workers on strike? This is part of the plan. The results of this, again, he says the economy will yield to Big Brother government. You'll see government getting more involved to fill these gaps. Last is the area for destabilization, 2 to 5 years. He talked about foreign. He said the methods will be isolation, multiple nations, and central command, and the results becoming encirclement. This is less United States centric and more like Afghanistan centric, right? He's talking about this, that what will happen is that you'll wind up getting yourself in a situation once your country starts falling apart at the seams, everyone will kind of back away from you. You'll become a little bit isolated. Then they'll sense your weakness, they'll encircle you, and then you're going to get. I'll get to what your options are in a minute here, but he's very specific about what happens to countries like that. There are 2 choices, and neither of them are very good. So one of the things that you'll hear with regard to the destabilization that's happening during the 2 to 5 years, you'll hear fight, fight, fight. Okay, he talks about that quite a bit. Teachers versus students. Do we have that? Have you seen again, back to TikTok, have you seen the videos of teachers losing it in schools? Have you seen the students completely out of control? There's no respect for teachers. And listen, I mean, we can have the argument about, respect being earned. I don't know that I would necessarily respect a lot of these teachers either, but it's part of it. So, workers versus owners, lots of strikes, fight, fight, fight. You'll hear the rhetoric ramped up in the media between all these soulless politicians telling you've got to fight this and we got to fight that and we got to fight back. We have to fight against climate change. We have to fight against COVID. We have to fight against domestic terrorism and fight against white nationalists. It's a fight. Fight, 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 fight. Everybody's got to fight. Why would you get into a fight with somebody because some politician on television told you need to fight? Why would you listen to anything they have to say? Well, you wouldn't, but you could be made, but the weak-minded people could be whipped up into a frenzy. And this is part of it. This is part of the destabilization. They want you to fight. They definitely don't want you to sit around. They want you to fight, right? So he talks about the radicalization of human relations. You'll start to feel that the tactic is no compromise, right? And what do we see today? We have trans protesters, climate protesters, white nationalists, Antifa, BLM, militarized police force. I mean, we've got a lot of that going on right now. And he says it doesn't even matter what they're fighting about. Just keep them fighting, right? As long as groups come into antagonistical clash, it doesn't even matter if it's trans versus non-trans, or Antifa versus Proud Boys, or Trump versus Biden. It doesn't matter. As long as you can destabilize relationships, then you can further the process of destabilization through the entire country. Many friendships ended over things like Trump and COVID and vaccines and masks and Ukraine and climate change and gender. And this is not some random coincidence. They're picking us off, right? They're getting you. If you can end those relationships that you have with people, then the process of destabilization works very quickly. He said that you need to slowly eliminate free market economies and bring in big brother government. Check. Yep, that's been happening. Free market economies. We don't have free market economies anymore. We have the government in there rigging it. We have fascism. And not the imaginary type that the left keeps talking about. We have actual fascism. We have the blending of the big businesses and corporations for the benefit of government. Look at BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Tell me I'm wrong. We're hearing, what we are hearing about, like, city governments like Chicago, a shithole city by all accounts. I'm sorry to those of you that live there. It might not have been at one point, but it is now, and it's due to government intervention. And Chicago, a city that has run its, the government, Democratic government for the last 60 years at least, have run that city into the ground to the point where grocery stores are leaving. And what is the solution? More government. The government says, we'll open the grocery stores. Oh, really? You're going to be slinging government cheese there? You're going to open are you going to charge $2 less for a gallon of milk than the for-profit grocery store down the street? You're going to put them out of business? This is what happens. Need to slowly eliminate free market economy. How would you do that? Bring in a government-run grocery store to compete with one of the few grocery stores that's left in Chicago. This is how you do it. Yuri talks about destabilization with this punch in the face analogy, right? He says, if there's a big guy right next to me who's going to punch me in the face, what are my choices here? I can block it. I can put my hands up and block it, but I'm just going to take the brunt of his punch, and he's going to knock me down with it. I could stand there and let him punch me in the face, but he's going to knock. He said, what you'd really want to do, if you were being strategic about this big guy that's about to punch you in the face, is when that fist starts coming your way, you first move out of the way. And secondly, you grab that fist, and you, instead of trying to block it, you go with it. He invokes martial arts mentality of allowing yourself to take the momentum of that punch, and instead of trying to stop it, no, go with it, but just redirect it where you want it. Move yourself out of the way of that punch, grab the fist as it's coming through, and redirect it right into a brick wall. Break the guy's hand. You understand? So this is the strategy. Back to Sun Tzu, do not attack your enemy directly, right? You be strategic about this. And this is when you're talking about the process of destabilization, you have to use some strategy, right? And that's what he said. He says, no. Don't try and stop these movements. Guide these movements where you want them to go. You're not going to stop the anti-war movement. Just guide it into some cul-de-sac where it'll never get out of it, So he says that you get to this third stage. The third stage is the crisis stage, right? That's the point. That's the part where you are where it only takes 6 weeks, right? He says that for the destabilization, as you start to move into the crisis phase, what you have is sleeper cells that get activated into politics to promote conflicting ideas in order to create more fights. This is where you get the Krasenstein dipshits and the Chris Mowrys and all these Democratic paid operatives that are on social media trying to tell you how to feel, and they get activated into politics seemingly out of nowhere because they're know-nothing disposable cutouts, and their whole purpose is to promote conflicting ideas in order to create more fights and to create a crisis. And And he says, once you get to the crisis, this is what it'll look like. He said, and I believe this is where we are. We're somewhere around this point. Legitimate bodies of government are no longer respected or trusted due to corruption. Unelected NGOs start running official policy. Think World Health Organization superseding the United States Constitution. And self-appointed groups start to claim power. World Economic Forum, anybody? United Nations through World Health Organization through the United Nations? No? Ringing a bell? Possibly, you think? Self-appointed groups? Did you vote for Klaus Schwab? Did you vote for David fucking Rockefeller's United Nations? I didn't. No. These are self-appointed groups. They step in during the crisis. Now, we could use this as COVID, There's so many crises going on that it's hard to even really point to which one we're in, right? Because we could use the 9/11 example, which we used earlier. We could talk about COVID. We could talk about the climate crisis that they're manufacturing right now. And he said that once you get to this point of crisis, society has a hard time functioning. The population is looking for a savior, and you need a strong leader. And this is where you get the two options, right? And hat tip to Tim Pool on this one, because one of the options is civil war, and the other option is invasion. I would suggest neither of these are good options. But when you wind up in a crisis, that's where you go. After the 6-week crisis, then you begin the process of normalization. This is the fourth step in the process, and we're going to wrap up with this. The process of normalization is stabilizing the country by force, by the self-proclaimed leaders. There's no more need for a revolution at this point. Now what we really need is for everybody to just chill the fuck out and nobody gets hurt. Okay? This is after the crisis. The United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, they're in charge now. The revolutionaries are no longer needed. The sleeper cells, the liberals, the homosexuals, the activists, the social workers, the professors, the Marxists, the Leninists. These are Yuri's words. He said, these people are no longer needed. They've all done their jobs. They're put up against the wall and they're shot. Always. And you have to shoot them because they become the biggest pain in the ass to your establishment, if you leave them alive, because they continue their revolutionary talk when you don't want a revolution anymore. You see, they're useful idiots. This is the part that Antifa can't figure out. This is the part that they don't understand, that they're the brown shirts, the SA that Hitler used on the way up to destabilize. I mean, Hitler followed this playbook: destabilize, crisis, all this. You use these people. And then when you're done, when you've taken power, they are useless to you anymore, because the skills that made them valuable to you before you were in power are the same skills that make them not very valuable to you now. Now they run the risk of doing the same thing to you that they just did to the group before. So you put them up against the wall and you shoot them all. Not my words, his words. Sleepers, liberals, homosexuals, activists, social workers, professors, Marxists, Leninists. He names them. Are these not the agitators that you see? Are we not following Yuri's playbook like to a T? No more strikes, no more protests. This in the normalization process. People understand what happens when you speak out. They've just gone through it. They've just witnessed everybody put up against the wall and shot. You don't get any more protests. You don't get any more of any of that stuff. Okay. He says that at this point, you need to curb your expectations. You need to make do with much less. You need to reduce your consumption. But he said that there is a little bit of hope. He said if people refuse to believe in nonsense and start to examine the things that are told to them through the media and through these indoctrination centers and college campuses and places like that, if they're able to break away and go, this isn't really adding up. Man, some of these things that they're teaching us, it doesn't make any sense. If you're able to get enough people to that point, then he said you might be able to turn things around. But the key factor is that you have to stop the importation of propaganda into your country. And with the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, you no longer have to import it internationally. It's now domestic propaganda. So again, you have to get rid of the media, essentially. Religion has a big opportunity here to step in. He acknowledges, he says that it can provide stability for civilization. It also runs the risk of being completely co-opted too. We know that. We've seen what the fucking Pope is doing. I mean, the Pope is a double agent, by the way. All of you Catholics out there, you should keep an eye on him. So that's it. That's ideological subversion. It's 4 steps. It's not 80 steps. It's 4 steps. You just have to be patient. You have to have a strategy. You have to understand how people work. You have to have people in positions of power. You have to play a long game. It's happening now and we're watching it. Hopefully we can get to a point where we recognize that what is coming at us is the punch by the big guy. And hopefully we are able to redirect that punch, get out of the way, redirect it, put it into a brick wall, put it into an industrial sized wood chipper, whatever you need to do. But if you're not paying attention, it's going to get bad. And as Terrence McKenna says, if you don't have a plan, you become part of somebody else's plan. Thank you, comrade. If you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. You can follow me on Rumble. Please subscribe to my Rumble channel. It's brand new, or maybe I'll see you in Mexico at Acapulco. Take care, everybody. Talk to you again soon.